Recording in progress.
How you doing, family? Welcome to another Bantu-Morpheus video. Going to continue on this, on the critique of this book, I Am, I Create by Erin Werley. And the reason I'm doing that is because I did a little more reading in the book. And I came across some aspects that they were bringing out in the book that I think really add a lot more meat on the bone and really just validates again more of what I had already have talked to you about and give you the education about this these aspects of the structure that we were all born into. And it puts a lot more meat on the bone, or validates even more the perspectives that I have expressed to you about what we are, and as it relates to Ama, or God for the European viewers, Eurasians, I should say, not Europeans, Eurasians, because everybody that's a mutated African comes from the European Asian area of the Caucasus Mountains, okay? And I don't talk about that in order to buy into or play into any kind of racist mentality at all. That's not what this is about. But I do it so that I can respect and acknowledge those human forms that are going to be watching this video that are from that area. And when I make certain references to their Bible, that's talking about the Eurasian Bible, and which is the Bible that is going all over the world, that is causing all of this dysfunctional behavior and this distractive behavior. And my purpose is to dispel all of that, nonsense, and that's why part of my mission of explaining and the writing of my book, The Anatomy of Existence, and we're going to deal with Erin Werley's book, the I Am and I Create, one law, one truth. And I got the title a little twisted around, but it doesn't matter. It all comes back to the same place. And one of the things I want to bring to your attention here, family, is about 3 to 5 years ago, I created as part of my graphic design skills that I've learned over the past 12, 15 years. I created a chart that gives you a diagrammic explanation of my interpretation of the cosmological structure of existence as it relates to Ama, the micro being, and the human form, the physical form, okay? And I'm going to put that over here, okay? And I'm going to keep it over here unless I want to talk to you or make reference to some other book. And I'll just momentarily replace that with the book that I'm speaking to, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And there are several books that you need to really be on top, be aware of, that also relate to everything that I am teaching in this workshop series, where I educate as many and save as many young people as possible from their Bible, the indoctrination of that Bible, and the mass, paranoia, psychopathic, dysfunctional misrepresentation of Ama and existence itself as it relates to their Bible, okay? And my job is to correct all of that dysfunction and all of that misrepresentation and all of that paranoid, overtly emotional confusion that is designed to bog your mind down and keep you from ever waking up and becoming realizing that you are a micro Ama or micro being that is a representative of Ama itself, not he, itself. Okay. And you also have all of these built-in powers that you were born with that have to be, initiated and activated and exercised and built up so that you will be able to control every aspect of your life. And that's what my purpose is to explain what these things are as they relate to what you are and how to use them as it relates to the law of attraction and the law of repetition. Okay? And all of these are powers that you were born with, that the church and the religion is hell-bent on making sure you never discover. Or what they're doing is they're tricking you into buying into a misrepresentation of what you are and the use of your power. And the way they do that is by tricking you into believing and repeating a concept, an ideology that says that you don't have any power. This dude, Jesus, has the power, and you only can get to access that power if you only go through, which means you believe in and you repeat the mantra that I am a child of Jesus and Jesus is my savior. And so I can't do nothing on my own. I have to go through white Jesus. And in order to get him to speak to his white father, in order to do so you can get anything done in your life. And his white father is up in a heaven somewhere that don't exist. And eventually there's going to be an apocalyptic end of the world, so you better hurry up and proclaim your allegiance to this white Jesus, so that you can get or guarantee a place up in heaven with white Jesus's white father, only if you pledge your allegiance and swear your allegiance and drink his blood and eat his body every first of every month. All of this crazy madness and insanity, a matrix of absolute lies and just madness and psychopathic nonsense. And this thing has been perpetuated for at least 2,000 years. Okay? And this is what's got to be, an end has got to be. Little snafu there with the camera. Okay, so my efforts here are dedicated to dismissing and getting rid of all of that madness that is coming from their Bible and their indoctrination, as well as the education system, which is 50% of the problem that most people will experience in the effort to try to become self-actualized. And to be self-actualized, I'm going to repeat, is to become a person who is identified with your micro being, which is infinite and will never die and is immortal. And you understand and you awaken to the reality that you can never die and that you will repeatedly be reincarnated into human form forever. This will never end. And your task is to be awakened or reminded of what you are in each lifetime by some guide like me. And that guide is also to remind you of the powers that you were born with, so you can begin to exercise those metaphysical muscles and your visual muscles and your thinking muscles, which comes through the use of the brain of the human form. And the human form is ran by the instinctive intelligence of the human form, which is an automatic autonomic system that has to be guided by the intuitive intelligence of the micro being, which is an infinite metaphysical form, spiritual form that is infinite and immortal. The human form is mortal. It will only last for approximately 100 years if a whole lot of stuff goes right. All right, you eat right, exercise, and you're born into a vehicle that doesn't have any what do they call it, genetic predispositions that are organic to that particular form. Okay, so what you have to do is reach somebody like me who will make you aware of what you are, and you'll be reminded in each lifetime. And the purpose for this structure and the way that this baton has to be passed to you in each lifetime, I spoke about in previous movies, and that is to overcome. I'm gonna set this system up to overcome the omniscience, which is knowing everything all the time at the same time, which is what Amma has to experience. But we were created by Amma to balance out that experience. And so now we are born not knowing everything. And another thing I want to bring out, and I haven't emphasized this enough, the difference between Amma as a macro spiritual being and us as micro spiritual beings. Amma is a totality, and all of us and everything that else exists within and under Amma. And so Amma can never not know. Amma can never be in any one particular place at any time. So in order to overcome being everywhere all the time at the same time, Amma created us. We are micro beings. And what makes us micro is that we are in one particular place, even on a spiritual level as a consciousness. We are in one particular place at a point. And because in the metaphysical world, there is no time. So, but we are a perspective, which means we can see things from one particular place at a time as a perspective or a view or a consciousness or a awareness. We as micro beings, Amma has given us, we are the only entities in existence that is given the ability to view existence from one particular place. Okay, but we have the additional ability to choose where we're going to go within the metaphysical world. We can, when we develop our metaphysical spiritual skills, we can transport our consciousness to multiple places within Amma, within the spiritual realm, the metaphysical realm. That's what makes us the most powerful entity in existence, spiritual existence and physical existence. This is how special we are. This is the power that we have been born with. Okay, we are this power in essence, in our essence, and it's unique. We're uniquely gifted with this ability to have a singular perspective, a singular awareness, a singular consciousness within a macro consciousness. And we have also the gift of being able to create with our repeated thoughts, not just any old thought, repeated thoughts. And the only reason now, after reading this book, and I'm going to bring this out later on, the reason why we have to repeat is because of the human form that we were born into and its purpose, which is to allow us to function on the illusionary world that we call the time-space continuum. And most people call it life. In other words, we're alive, and we're alive on this virtual, it's not even real, but it's real to us. It's real relative to the human form. It's real relative to the macro being, as I described in my last video, and what I'm going to show to you here with this chart, showing you what I had to tell my nephew is the Holy Trinity, is the macro being, the micro being, and the physical form. Now, the physical form and the micro being is one side of a coin. Then the micro being and the macro being is another side of another coin. So the micro being is the pivotal element of the Holy Trinity, because to Amma, the physical world that Amma sees is not real. The laws and the rules that govern the physical world are not real because they don't apply to Amma. So to Amma, when you see in this book, I Am, you're going to hear Erin speaking as the voice of Amma, saying that things are not real, that there are certain laws there are no laws. And see, there are no laws relative to Amma, because Amma can do whatever it wants. And Amma is everywhere all the time. So Amma has no structure from its perspective as a macro being, because Amma is everything that we experience and everything we do and think. Amma already is that. So there are no laws, there is no structure for Amma. So when you hear that in this book, it's important that you comprehend and understand that that's what is really meant in that expression of those statements. There are no rules for Amma. There are no rules. There's no structure for Amma. Nothing is real to Amma except us, the micro beings. We are real to Amma. You know why? Because Amma is infinite and we are infinite. That validates our infiniteness. Just in the statement that Amma says, nothing is real. But Amma never says that about us. Amma never says that you are not real. What Amma tells us is you are me and I am you. I get goosebumps when I think about that, okay? That's how powerful we are. You see this Holy Trinity? That's how powerful we are. See, they don't want the DeSantises and the Trumps and these MAGA maniac and psychopaths. They are purely instinctive, dumb brutes, and they are holding on to that power that dumb bruteness gives them. It gives them the illusion of control, because they believe that whiteness actually exists. They believe that they are separate from us. And it is an absolute nonsense. They came from something and they don't want to face that, because they're pissed off at nature for making it that way. So now they're subjugated to the first people, which is people that look like me. We're the oldest human forms on the planet. So their jealousy and their hatred and their envy that they are experiencing, and the psychopathic nonsense that comes out of the realization that they came from us, it comes from their dumbness and their ignorance. and their anger at nature and their anger at God for making them subservient. They're not really subservient to us, but their paranoia makes, and their belief in a system that's not real called white supremacy makes them paranoid, because as a mutate of the original people, which I am, their form is recessive. So whenever they mate with one of us, their form dies. It cannot be recreated. The only way they can be recreated is by mating with another albino, or what I call another mutate. But this is not going to do them any good, because as long as they're out in the sun, eventually they're going to come back to black, or back to what I call African. Black and white really doesn't exist. That's something they created. So they would have something, because without them creating of white supremacy, they haven't created nothing. Everything has already been created, and they can only mimic and build on what we have already created, which is the natural evolutionary process. And they're doing that. Vast majority of them are doing that. But there is this segment of them that are Ron DeSantis and Trump and the Nazis and the fascists that are all over the planet, everywhere. That's why I call it a virus. It's a mental illness that has infected through their religion, through their Bible. Their Bible backs up this mental illness. And so they believe it, and so it's driving them insane. And I'm not going to get into it, because it's a waste of time. They're eventually going to die off anyway, and there's nothing they can do about it. So, when you confront them, you'll know what to do when you deal with it. But they're not important. What's important is that you understand the importance of the human form as it relates to the micro being. And what I want to give you, family, is a whole new world that is real, that has been created by Amma through us. And the realness of this world is the fact that we can never die as micro beings. So the fear and the terror that comes through their Bible, all that crap that they talk about in their Bible, don't exist. And so I only bring it up so you understand, when you run into it, everything they're telling you is a damn lie, okay? Because you can't die, period. Now that's coming from Amma itself. And the validation, you will be seen everywhere. And this book, One Law, One Truth, I Am, I Create, by Erin Werley, is just another of hundreds of books that you're going to run into. That's why I tell you, family, read other books and look for the correspondences. In other words, this relates to this. That's a correspondence. This corresponds to that. What Erin said in her book, she says, I am you and you are me. That's why I said we are representatives of Amma. And as such, we are gifted with certain powers and abilities. And Erin says that in her book. Okay. She says that in her book here. Okay. That corresponds to what I said before I even read her book. I didn't even read this book. And these are things that I already said, because as I said in the opening of this video workshop series, there is only one truth. And in her book, she says there's only one truth, and it is. And that truth is Amma. Amma is the only thing that is real, other than the micro being. We are real because we are forever. The only duality in existence that is permanent is Amma and us, the micro beings. That singular consciousness. Amma is a vast consciousness with no particular direction at all. That's why we were created. We are a singular consciousness with a singular view that can actually focus and create structure and live within that structure, which is laws and rules and boundaries Structure means boundaries. And balancing off things is what gives us structure. Okay, so let's go on and let's, I wanted to give you that background because very important. I had overlooked this many times with the, when I was doing my other movies. I feel like I kind of gave it superficial focus, which is the aspect of the micro being that singular focus and structure, and the difference between that and the macro being, which is Ama, which is a totality and has no ability to be focused other than on and through us. That's why the only thing Ama sees as real is us. That should give you great joy. And because, you know why? Because we're always going to be there, because we're infinite like Ama. See? And Ama only sees infinite things because Ama created us. And only thing Ama can do is create infinite things. And then we can create, Ama can also create forms, structures. And then once that structure is created, it may not live forever, but it will keep repeating infinitely. That's the human form. It only has a cycle of existence, but that cycle will repeat infinitely. That's why we will repeatedly be incarnated into human forms infinitely, because we are infinite. You got to understand this. This is the basic structure of existence itself, and it's predicated on this human form right here. And the other human forms that brings this human form is in existence is a higher priority than all other human forms, and that is the woman. So the woman human form is more important than any other human form. The male human form has value too, but the males don't bring any life into existence. The male can't give birth to other human forms. Okay, so if you can't give birth to other human forms, I mean, you can impregnate and you can drop a seed and walk away. Cute, but it's not you ain't getting nothing done. If that woman don't do her part to bring all human forms into existence, all human forms will die out. So right there should let you know. And anybody that don't understand this family is mentally ill. It's something wrong with them. They're going through some kind of egotistical mental madness that they're experiencing. That is dysfunctional. It's not balanced. And this is just basic cosmological, anthropological structure that you cannot deny. Okay? But anyway, let's move on. So I'm going to start sharing, and I want to give you all right, so in this slide, if you notice here, let me get my annotation tools here. Okay, and I want to start out with this slide and speak to your family about what the sister is going to talk about here in this piece here. Notice how she opens up here, and she's quoting somebody named Rumi, okay? And Rumi says, the universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already are. So that corresponds to what I have always said and what Erin says in her book. We are micro representatives of Ama, and Ama is everything. But we are a singular focused consciousness that has the ability to function within ourselves as Ama. So therefore, we are unique in our micro-ness, micro beingness, that we can speak from this position, which is a singular position and a singular consciousness with a singular ability to express our intellect in our intellectual beingness, okay, as an intellectual, intelligent, what's the word? I'm losing my words here. As an intuitive intelligence, we can speak from a singular perspective because of our intuitive intelligence that Amma blessed us with, that allows us to have the illusion of individuality. And so we have the illusion of singular individuality. It is an illusion that is supported by our intuitive intelligence. That's what keeps our consciousness and our awareness where it is. And I can't explain to you how I know this, but I know this is the fact. This is how we're able to be micro beings over here, sitting here in this human form here. And there are an infinite number of us. And we are expressions of Amma. Amma is so powerful, so ubiquitous, that it can only express itself this way. Okay? And we can experience this because of our intuitive intelligence. And this is what I teach, that no other YouTuber, metaphysician, philosopher, I've read hundreds of books, and I have never, ever heard anybody articulate the awareness and the consciousness and the individual singularness of us as micro beings using the vocabulary that I am using here, family. And that's what makes this workshop and my book, The Anatomy of Existence and the Power of Belief, unique from all the other books. Not better. It makes me unique in the way that I teach what I teach, in the structure, in the cosmological structure between macro being, micro being, and the human form. Okay? I'm the only one that teaches micro being and macro being. I'm the only one that uses that terminology. Being and human being and micro being and macro being. See, but the human has the micro being in it. See, that structure that I created through my awareness that the universe instructed me to do, because that's why I'm doing it. I only do what the universe instructs me to do, okay? And I'm designed to do this. And that's my purpose as a teacher and as a guide for you, whoever is watching this YouTube movie. That's my purpose, and I know it through and through, and I don't have any doubts about it. Okay, so I'm just doing my job, and I love what I do. And I'm so proud that I've been chosen to have this honor to be able to share this data with you. And I have perfected this data over 45, almost 50 years to get it this refined and this clear, to give it to you this clear. Okay, so that you can now take this data and build and correct all of the flaws in your life, because once you wake up to this reality of what you are and who you become when you are incarnated into form, and then you hear these words that I'm giving you, you are on a path of an existence of power and an existence of control on a level that up until now has never been experienced before, but by very few. Okay. And I'm experiencing it, but I'm also creating it as I go. All right. But I'm sharing it with you. Okay. So when you see them saying that, because everything that you want, you already are. And this guy Rumi is the guy that says that. So when I read things like this, it just corresponds. It compels me to make mention of the fact that corresponds to what I have said in my past movies, that we are representatives of Amma having a human experience in a human form. Okay, so let's get into it. Amma starts out by saying, when I am is physically concentrated in your body. Okay, let's break it down. Again, I'm going to use first principle and critical thinking philosophy. Okay, philosophical logic. Okay, look at the words I'm going to use, look them up, and you'll see how they fit together and help you to learn about you. Because with everything you see here that is about me is about you. That's what you are. That's what we are. We are. Okay? It says, so when I am is physically concentrated in your body, I am can do everything that I am can do in the non-physical world, which is the spiritual world, the metaphysical. Spiritual and metaphysical is the same thing. Okay? And it says, but can also experience through the senses of, what senses is it talking about? The senses of the human form. Okay? That is what, and this goes on to say that is why I am created. I am, notice now, understand that when it's trying to talk to you from the perspective of the macro being. Okay? So it's the language, this language is difficult for it to articulate. These shifts between the first person singular, which is I am, and talking about it created the physical body, which is the human form. So it says, that is why I am created these physical bodies. I am is Amma. Okay? And for physical experiences, there it is. Okay, more that corresponds to what I said, that we are representatives of Amma, metaphysical micro beings having a human experience in these human, he says body, I say form, because Eckhart Tolle uses the term form, and I like that word form because it's kind of, it's neutral. Bodies is good too. Everybody can understand bodies, but I think the human form is, I don't know, it's more eloquent. I like the use of that word human form, because human form is distinct from a beaver, which is an animated form. See, everything is form, but everything is not a body. See, a beaver, you could say a beaver's body, a fish's body, you could say that, but its form is more broad, it's more ubiquitous, it speaks more to the physical world, and it's kind of neutral. And that's why I like it. I just feel like it's more neutral, and that's just personal preference. Okay? So, and Phil starts to ask question, that's why humans were created, and Amma says physical experiences are why everything in the physical world is created. So that confirms. Again, Amma created us so that it can experience not knowing, and all, well, let me say it this way. So Amma created us and put us in human form so it can experience things that it otherwise could not experience, which is first and foremost the ability to be in one particular place at one particular time, as opposed to being omnipresent, which is everywhere all the time at the same time. So to balance that out, it created the micro being and then put it in. The micro being gives Amma singularity. Amma now can experience existence or experience consciousness in one particular place. In other words, as a singularity within Amma, I can dream about things that have happened at one particular time in one particular spiritual mind space, because I'm micro. So I have my own micro mind. Like Amma is a macro mind, but Amma mind is everywhere all the time, nowhere in particular. So Amma created us. So now through us, Amma can experience singularity in one mind space. A spiritual, metaphysical mind space, not a physical. The physical mind space comes with the human form. So when you wake up and I'm like, I'm conscious now. So thoughts are going through my head as I'm speaking to you. I am expressing my thoughts that the intuitive intelligence of my micro being is putting through this mind and translating it into this voice and coming out of this mouth and coming to you into this camera. That's what's happening here. It's a very complicated thing, but I'm doing it what we call samadhi. It's like I don't have to make a lot of effort because I have trained this vehicle to speak the way I want it to speak, when I want it to speak, and how I want it to speak. Because I have trained it to do what I want it to do, when I want it to do it, and how I want it to do it. And as a micro being, we are so powerful. If any other animated being that comes around and in our environment, then they will come under us, because our intuitive intelligence, every animated form has instinctive intelligence. This animated form in and of itself, all by itself, has instinctive intelligence. And I've talked about this in many movies in the past. But that instinctive intelligence cannot choose beyond the basic survival choices that it has to make in order to stay alive. Those choices are automatic, and it's reflexive thought. Instinctive thought is very reflexive, and it doesn't think much about what it just does it, whatever it needs to do on impulse and to survive. And if it has to take a head off, it'll take a head off, won't think nothing about it. That's because I got, you threatening me? Take your head off. No feeling, no emotion, none of that. No compassion, no Forget about all that. Just survive at all costs. Okay? And to a certain extent, Amma created us to do that also as micro beings. Because that's how Amma is about preserving this structure that it put in place to get away from this being everywhere all the time. Amma has a sense of urgency that comes from why we were created. Amma is motivated by getting away from being everywhere all the time at the same time. That is the driving force that is behind evolution itself. That's another profound thing, that a statement that I am making that nobody else, I have never, ever heard anybody talk about this. It's like a taboo because they're afraid of that you're going to say something that you're going that you're going to demonstrate or say that armor has a shortcoming, or that armor can't do something. And that is very true, but it's not an insult to armor, because armor don't give a damn what you think. Armor don't have to care. Armor is totality, it's total power. So for you to even think that you can insult armor by talking about armor like some rumor mill, like armor gives a damn, is folly. It's folly. And so that just shows your level of, that, and this is my job, is to bring you out of that immature, gossipy, paranoid nonsense that comes out of just not knowing. It really comes from not knowing what you are, and comprehending the characteristic and the nature and the essence of armor. I want to bring you up and bring you out of that foolish folly, silly kind of thinking. You have to, in order to be and comprehend your maker and what we are as our macro being, you got to come out of that. You got to grow up. You got to wake up. Okay? And nobody else is doing this on YouTube. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else. I'm just saying I'm different. I'm pointing out an aspect of this understanding and the structure of this existence and what we are that nobody else is doing. Ain't nobody else doing this, family. Nobody. Okay? So when you see this, you help. It should help you to understand the structure. And in a backhanded kind of way, it should help you to comprehend how much power you have within you. And I wanted to say this earlier, that it comes back to what Lauryn Hill said to us, and I'm going to keep repeating it and giving her the credit for what she was trying to wake us up to. That's something she had experienced on her own, I'm sure. Because to know this truth, you have to live it. You have to have been living it to be able to articulate it on the level that I have. I've been living this for over 45 years. So it's easier for me to articulate it. So when I hear it, and I've said in my first movie, when I first started this video series, almost now 80 movies ago, I said that to know truth, you got to live truth. And when you hear truth, once you're living the truth, it has a sound, and you're going to say, oh, she's on it. Because that's what I experienced when I woke up. I realized that I had to get right within if I ever wanted to win. What are you trying to win? You're trying to win your freedom. You're trying to win your freedom from the religions, your freedom from the white supremacists, your freedom to begin to flex the muscles that will allow you to dominate your entire environment and bring the level of peace and decency and harmony and love and joy and compassion, that all of the things you've always been taught that this is what a good person is supposed to be and supposed to have: wealth, health, okay, and the sanity of your mind and peace that comes from power and knowing that you will never die and you can never die, and that you are chosen by Amma, not as an African, yes, as an African, as a human form, but that is trivial to the fact that you are a micro being chosen by Amma to represent Amma as a singular consciousness, family. Do you understand how vital, how powerful that is? Because we can never die. The human form is going to die. And yes, it's good that we're the first human African forms. That's great that I was born into that form. That's beautiful. But it's a nanite compared to the fact that I am a micro being that has the built-in powers and ability to create everything in the physical world with my thoughts. Family, get your priorities right. Be identified with that which is infinite and immortal and will never die. Be proud of your Africanness. Keep that in perspective. Don't let no mutated, recessive human form that came from you try to redefine and define anything for you, about you, and you're the first human form that was ever created. Yes, I want to give you that power and that pride, okay? But a healthy kind of pride that is only has to be projected because of the lies and the filthiness of the white supremacy system, which is a lie. And see, we, as the first human form that is backed up by spiritual righteousness, we won't even put them down. We won't put them down, but we will put them in their place and let them know, stop lying. Don't lie on my ancestors, on my ancestry of our human form, as it has done all this work to get to this point, to bless the world with all of this intelligence, astrology, physics, science, chemistry. Are you out of your mind? I'm not going to tolerate anything from these filthy Confederates and these MAGA morons. I'm not going to tolerate anything from them. I'm going to put them in their place. But I'm also set the record. I'm going to keep righteousness level. I'm going to let them know, oh, I'm not better than you. But I'm here first. And I'm not going to allow you to talk to me any old kind of, I'm not going to allow you to tell me anything, because you are my child. You don't let your children tell you nothing about you, especially if they haven't done no homework and they're coming at you with some jive. Chop them to pieces. That's what I do. And I tell them what my beautiful Baba, Professor John Henry Clark, gave me this statement, and I put it in my pocket, and I'm going to use it on these filthy things every time they step to me. I debate only my equals. And as a mutated, recessive, dumb brute, all you're going to get from me is a lecture. Because I lecture my subordinates, all others that are not on my level. And since you want to bring this level stuff up, let's get it right. You are a recessive child of my form. And for you, all you're going to get from me is a debate. I should say, you're going to get a lecture. I only debate my equals. And unless you are a mutated African who acknowledges me as the original first frequency African, then I will debate you about certain things. But other than that, sit back and I'll tell you about you. I'll tell you what you are, how you got to be what you are, how you were in the caves and you used to be an African. Okay? I'll take them through that whole ride. That's the lecture that I will give them. But I will not debate them about any of this stuff, cosmological awareness, spiritual awareness, self-actualization. I will not debate them about any of this. And the throwing out of their Bible, I won't have a debate with them on that. I will lecture them about it, but I will not debate them. So as John Henry Clark said, I lecture my equals. I should say I debate my equals and I lecture my subordinates, all others, as John Henry Clark said, all others. Because if you're not my equal, we can't have a debate. You haven't done enough homework. And if you're not honest about what you are and how you got to be, you're absolutely not on my level. Sorry, that's how this goes. And so it's not an ego thing for me. It's a matter of standing up for what you believe. See? And you have to be able to do that, family. And you only can do that by gathering wisdom, knowledge. Learn from this person. Learn from Philippe Matthews. Learn from Baba Kaba Khamenei. Learn from Naeem Akbar. Learn from even Erin Werley. She is giving us I can learn from Eckhart Tolle, who gave me some brilliant information about the human form and being in the now, metaphysically, and leaving the human form and focusing on your micro being and your intuitive intelligence and awakening that intuitive intelligence and identifying that intuitive intelligence as your perspective, as your guiding structural mental state that controls your metaphysical, spiritual micro being. The intuitive intelligence is the intelligence that controls the micro being. The instinctive intelligence is the intelligence that controls the human form. I don't care what color it is, what nationality or culture it is. It has an instinctive intelligence running it that is powered by the micro being. The micro being is like a battery for the human form. And the instinctive intelligence of the human form cannot function or come alive until the micro being is inculcated into it at conception, as it's conceived. The conception is the coming together of the micro being and the human form. And once that happens, the instinctive intelligence wakes up and begins to start growing and helping and growing the human form through all of its processes that are automatic. The intuitive intelligence of the micro being always exists, but Amma has created a system where every reincarnation, your memory is wiped. They call it the veil of parakeet. And it comes from being what they call it, conceived at conception into the human form. This is part of the structure that Amma put in place to ensure that it will never, ever get trapped into a position where it always knows everything. So as a micro being, we are thrust in a perspective where we infinitely are recycled or reincarnated and our memories are wiped. So now it is impossible, or I should say it's possible now through us that Amma can experience not knowing. That's omniscience. It can get away from omniscience now through us. Fascinating. This is a fascinating revelation, realization, and it's ingenious. The level of ingenuity behind this, and it's engineering. It's cosmological engineering on a level that only Amma could have created. And the reason I can understand it is because I am Amma in a microcosmic form. Fascinating. Fascinating. Makes total sense if you open your mind up and just embrace the reality of what we are and how we got to be here. Fascinating. Okay. Okay, so let's go on. So Amma says physical experiences are why everything in the physical world is created. And notice it didn't say has been created, say is created. That means it's still happening. It's still in the process of evolving through the evolutionary, it's still playing out, and it's going to continue to play out because an infinite entity created it. And infinite entities can only create infinite things that keeps going through infinite cycles. All right. Humans are different from all other creations because your thoughts create. I said that earlier before I even read this. And our repeated thoughts create. And we have to repeat because of the human form, the instinctive intelligence. The instinctive intelligence is going to create a certain level of doubt that we're going to have to repeat because of that doubt. And that what Erin talks about in past slides, where she talks about because of the interference of your I forget the term that she uses, that comes from the human form, where you have doubt because your knowing is being blocked by the human form. Okay. And so everything else is an effect of creation and not a cause. So the creation is our thoughts causing the quantum physical manipulation of matter that brings physical things into existence. So when we have a repeated thought, we are moving quantum, or what they call dark energy, is manipulating the 23% of dark matter that eventually is compressed into human form, or not human form, compressed into the form world. And sometimes those things manifest as good fortune that manipulates matter that's already in existence and moves it into your favor, or it creates human forms directly, okay, that you have thought of that you want in your environment. So it can manipulate good fortune, which is metaphysical and circumstantial, okay, and bring that into your environment. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but you get my point. That's the point I want to make, okay? But everything else other than everything else is an effect. So in other words, if you create something, now what you have created is going to have a domino effect. It's going to affect something else in the environment. And so that's why I said it's going to be an effect. But the cause is your original thought. Okay, cause and effect. So that's that structure that's already in existence, and most people know about cause and effect. Okay, humans are the effect being created, okay, by I am. So there it is, and this is not to say it's absolutely correct, but it implies and it validates what I have always said. Amma created the human form and put the micro being in the human form. But Amma created the human form. And the human form is created to be perfect, okay? But what kind of perfect are we talking about? The human form is perfect in the sense that it's perfectly designed to have flaws. Get to that, family. The human form is designed to be unpredictable. Again, Amma wants to get away from knowing everything all the time at the same time. And the only way you can do that is take an aspect of yourself that is perfect, that can't make mistakes, and only creates perfect things, and put it up against something that by design is designed to screw up and make mistakes. and the interplay between the micro being and the intuitive intelligence of the micro being and the instinctive intelligence of the human form comes together and creates a journey of a mix of things that you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And you want to be surprised and say, oh, wow, look at that. Fascinating. Create a problem. And now, okay, that stimulates the intuitive intelligence to find a solution to that problem. And you overcome that challenge. That's why you'll have challenges and you'll have solutions. You have challenges that come from the instinctive intelligence, and you'll have solutions that will come from the intuitive intelligence of the micro being. So that's this. You'll see in movies you'll have one angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. That's the symbolic structure that they're trying to convey to you in those two images. So the devil image is not a bad thing. It has been created, and it's been created to exist in order to create the journey of discovery and the journey of achievement and the journey of overcoming challenges. Okay? So everything else is an effect of creation and not a cause. Humans are the effect being created. Okay? And we're an effect of Amma. Amma is the cause. Okay, we are the effect. All right, but at the same time, I am's thought is focused into each human body and makes that human body. Okay, and I got to get another tool here in order to be able to go to the next slide. And it goes on to say, and makes that human body capable of creation. In other words, the human form can create automatically whatever the intuitive intelligence of the micro being directs it to create. So it can create creation of causing effect. It's kind of confusing, but you got to understand that. So you'll have a Amma is the cause of the micro being coming into existence and having that singular focus and the illusion of individuality. So we are the effect of Amma. So the micro being, with its intuitive intelligence, coming into human form, now the intuitive intelligence of the micro being has to dominate the instinctive intelligence of the human form and direct the instinctive intelligence to direct the human form to create, to cause something to happen, and the human form will create the effect. It creates the cause, and then it creates the effect, because the human form is controlled completely and totally by the instinctive intelligence system. But that instinctive intelligence system has to be directed by the intuitive intelligence of the micro being. And the intuitive intelligence of the micro being is going to always be able to dominate the instinctive intelligence of the human form, because the human form is temporary, and therefore it is not as powerful as the intuitive intelligence of the micro being, because the intuitive intelligence of the micro being and the micro being itself is immortal and it never dies. So that's why Eckhart Tolle talks about you identifying with your essence, and your essence is the micro being. That's just something you got to understand, family. The church and the education system and the dumb brutes are controlled by the instinctive intelligence of the human forms that have clumped themselves together in a mass and called themselves the white race. These are mutated Africans who are psychopathic and insane because they just came on the scene 20,000 years ago. They crawled out the caves after being in the caves for 100,000 years. And their human form has been so mutated and warped and twisted that they went backwards in progress of the human form, with things that the African human forms had went through all of that evolutionary process and growing out of their brute dumb and getting this intuitive intelligence to control the instinctive intelligence. Africans have done that over 100 to 200,000 years ago, got it together. And they didn't get caught in the ice like these Africans did, and they regressed and they retarded. They went backwards in time, backwards in evolutionary development and human civilized behavior. They went backwards and they lost all of that after 100,300 years. So there is a whole group of them that are recessive, genetic recessive, and paranoid, psychopathic, dumb brutes that are dominated. Their intuitive intelligence is completely dominated by the instinctive intelligence. And they're a whole different type of human forms that are just dumb brutes. And they have to be controlled because they are, but they serve a purpose. See, they make the rest of us who are evolved human forms step up our game and focus and listen to them less and stop following them, because these people there's something wrong with them. They all jacked up on a level you can't even imagine. If you're a healthy, spiritually balanced, spiritually and physically balanced human form, you can't even, especially as an African, you can't relate to the level of desperation that they are experiencing as a recessive, dying human form. We are, as I said in my other movies, we are, as Africans, we are human forms of abundance. We have evolved past and trained our human form to be able to grow crops and to create civilization and to circumnavigate the planet and survive. Be able to navigate all the changes in the weather patterns and survive. To be able to go through all of the seasonal and weather, what they call atmospheric changes and survive and even thrive, because we've mastered it to a level. They don't know nothing about that stuff. That's why they're coming out and they have to be taught. The Greeks were the first ones that the Africans who first ran into them, who didn't get eaten by them, they were able to give them soap and teach them how to bathe and stop drinking blood and eating each other. And so they have regressed in through 100,000 years. It just takes 10,000 years to turn us, who are normal, healthy, sun-bathed Africans, if we start running and keep getting uprooted and Chancellor Williams talks about this in his book, Destruction of African Civilization, how some of the Africans that had been running from these filthy brutes were wound up reverting into cannibals and themselves in just a matter of 5 or 10,000 years. So imagine what will happen if you get stuck in an ice cave where there's no plants, there's no sun, there is nothing, and you become bleach white, albino, your eyes turn blue, your bunkie disappears because anything that sticks out freezes and helps you to die faster. So your nose goes thin and keeps the cold air from getting in, your lips shrink down to nothing, your hair becomes matted in order to keep your body warm, and you grow hair everywhere, and you can't cook anything because there's nothing to burn, because there's no plants, there's no wood, Nothing, there's no wood down there. So you just begin eating each other. And you do that for 100,000 years, family. It just takes 10 to turn you into a cannibal. So 100,000 years, forget about it. You come out looking like them. And you're psychopathic. And you lose all your spirituality. All that's gone. Once your survival of the human form is on the line, spirituality is gone. Ain't no hope ever. Until you come back out into the sun and you get around plenty and abundance, you are so desperate. You get in the habit of being desperate to survive dumb, brute, raw, brutal survival. It's on a level, family, you can't comprehend. And that's, you have to have pity on them, because they've done it for 100,000 years and they've only been out on the planet for 20,000 years. That's why they are a plague to all of the other Africans who are people of abundance. We don't understand their paranoia and their desperation to survive. We don't understand that because we've never experienced not being able to survive. It's not in our DNA. It's just not in our vocabulary. We don't even know what they're talking about. And that's why we can't understand what is wrong with them, because see, you haven't been in that position. And you got to understand why DeSantis and those people, they're terrified, because they know they're going to disappear. Pat Buchanan wrote a book and told them, you're going to disappear. Because what Pat didn't tell them is that it's not because Africans are out here, it's because the sun is up there. And in about another 100,000 years, just being out in the sun, if you don't mate with no Africans, you're going to become African again. Your skin is going to get dark. You're going to become an African. It's just, that's the nature of the human form. It's going to revert back to what it originally was before you went into the ice caves. See, if you go into an environment where there's no sun, your skin is going to turn white. You're going to become an albino. Simple as that. The melanin in your system is going to dissipate. And once the melanin stops being generated, your pineal gland is going to start to dry up. And then you're going to lose the physical form is going to trap the spiritual micro being in it. And the spiritual micro being will lose its ability to identify with what it is. And that just is because that's the way I'm going to set this up. So if you get caught in it, you're going to lose it, but you're going to lose your ability to identify. But here's the good thing. See, again, this is why you identify with your micro being, family, because no matter how long the human form takes to get it together, the human form is finite. We're infinite. We're immortal. We can wait. And see, that's what the Africans know. They know that they are so bonded with their micro beingness. The intuitive intelligence is so overwhelmingly bonded because we were never in the caves. So intuitively, we know that we can never not exist. We will always exist. There's nothing these mutates can ever do to us. Can't kill this. We're the first humans. Can't kill this. Now, if the sun goes supernova and takes out the planet, so what? The earth and the human and the setup and all that is temporary anyway. That's why Amma said none of this stuff is real. It's temporary anyway. But hey, let's enjoy it while it's here. But I want to give you this identity, family, so you understand the priority that you can never die. So at no point in whatever they try to dump on you, once you become self-actualized and you wake up in this life cycle right here, once you wake up to this reality of what I'm giving you right now, the rest of this life, you don't worry about it. You can never die, because once you wake up, you woke. You ain't going back to sleep. That's out. The intuitive intelligence is awakened, and the veil of parakeet is gone, and you don't go backwards. Evolution don't go backwards. Even in a cycle, we don't go backwards. We stay aware. We stay awakened. That's what dumbass DeSantis, the woke, we go kill the woke, you dumbass. I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse family, but they are so dumb and they don't know nothing. So that's why you have to totally ignore them and stay away from them as much as possible, because they're dumb, psychopathic, mentally ill, and there's nothing you can do to save them, because they are totally and completely identified with their human form, and it's dumb, instinctive intelligence. Okay, so let's go on. So that, they get into a little bit deepness about the cause and effect. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. Phil says, are you saying you have the ability to experience through other creations, but they don't have the ability to create with their thoughts and change the physical world like humans do? Now she's talking about other animated beings, okay? So in other words, are you saying you have the ability to experience through other creations? Now, Phil is asking Amma, saying that Amma has the ability to experience through other creations. And the answer is absolutely yes. And yeah, see, Amma says yes. Okay, of course. I mean, come on. Just once you understand this, folks, you almost know what the answers are going to be, because now you fully comprehend and you understand what Amma is and what Amma has created. Okay, so of course Amma says yes. Humans are the only species with the ability to create changes outside of their blueprints. In other words, we have the ability to go outside of our instinctive intelligence and structure that runs our human form and choose. We have a lot of choices that we do that other animated beings can't do. Other animated beings can only be in the right now that Eckhart Tolle talks about. They only see right now. They have no vision of they do remember some things in the past that have happened to them that are bad, that are related to their survival and the protection of their physical survival. That they remember and love. If they have a relationship with a brother or anything like that, they have that awareness and that memory also. But they don't visualize a future for themselves. None of that is going on. See, we as human beings, we can visualize and create with our visions and our thought what we don't have right now. And we can choose to go against our instinct. If our instinct is telling us to do something, we can have a moral, philosophical structure in our intuitive intelligence to tell us that is wrong and I'm not going to do it. Instinctive animals, they don't have that choice. Can't do that. They can't visualize no future for themselves, and they're not intelligent and creative enough to even have such a strong imagery about what they want and what they don't even have enough awareness of their accomplishments and or a connection to a lineage. They don't write things down. They're not going to draw any artwork or build any monuments to their achievements. They will build habitats and things that they can live in for their survival right then and there, but they're not leaving any images about what they have done and what they have accomplished for they don't have no concept of their children and their offspring and sharing wisdom so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. There ain't none of that. They teach whoever come into there, teach them right then and there. They ain't leaving no damn monuments on purpose. They might do it as a haphazard process of them just doing it, leaving something that to show that they did something, but it's because of what they've used and it died off and they just left it there. They don't build statues of individuals bumblebees or individual beavers or individual mites or individual flies or individual maggots or any of that. They don't leave, oh, that was a special maggot. Oh, that was a special bee. This queen was exceptional. She gave a lot of, so they build a monument of that bee sitting there like, no, ain't gonna be none of that. See, that's intuitive intelligence allows the micro being to manipulate the human form to make the human form do the bidding of the micro being. That's the difference. And that's what Amma is talking about here. Humans are the only species with the ability to create changes outside of their blueprints to themselves and their environment. Okay? Monuments, artwork, structures, books explaining how you learned how to create this stuff, blueprints, curriculums of education, teaching people how to teach other people how to. Now, animals may do that. Like in a colony of bees, they teach all the other bees how to wag their butt to keep the whole hive warm and stuff. And they do it on a very small level, but not on a high, sophisticated, massive, monumental level that human forms do, or human beings with this intuitive intelligence built in that is aware of what it is doing and has a broad forward view of what it can do and a deep bench of ancestry and documented training and awareness that goes back so deep you can document and know to dig the earth and to be able to explain the evolutionary process of the planet that you're living on, the environment, the surface that you get all your sustenance from, the planet that we are bound to in human form. See, the intuitive intelligence of the micro being and allows us to have a deeper comprehension that we create what we are as it relates to the planet, as environmental, that the planet is important to us. The animals are aware of this, but they're not consciously identifying it as, oh wow, yeah, its environment is important. It's either there or it ain't. If it ain't there, then they'll try to run away from it to survive, but they ain't thinking about doing nothing to make sure that we don't create cars that burn gas and CO2 and messing up the ozone layer and being able to preserve. They're doing it on their level. I'm not denying that on their level, but their level is a nanite compared to what we can do. That's why the human form is different. And it's not better, it's different. Just like the African is not better than the we're not better than the mutated Africans, the albinos and the Eurasians, which is different. We're first. And that's all by ourselves. We ain't not. It's not. See the difference between a spiritual, righteous, self-actualized person. We ain't comparing. I don't compare me to them. The only reason I'm talking about them is because family, they're trying to kill us off. See, I got to deal with that. I got to fight against that. I got to raise awareness against that because of their paranoid, psychopathic, or sociopathic, murderous behavior and mental illness. I have to raise awareness to everybody else. Watch out for them. There's something wrong with them. So you got to keep them under control until they finish the process of disappearing, because they were never supposed to exist to begin with. And they were brought into existence to force us to the next level of consciousness. Got to understand that. Okay, let's move on. Okay. All right. So yes, the human species are the only species with the ability to create change outside of their blueprint to themselves and their environment. Your blueprint is your destiny. And so my individual blueprint is my destiny. But your ability to think and create gives you free will. That's the intuitive intelligence that gives you will, which is another way of saying the ability to choose to comply with your instinctive guidance and even your intuitive guidance. You can choose to not comply. See, the instinctive animals don't have that choice. They don't have the free will to choose. Okay? It goes on to say, it is completely up to you as an individual human, whether or not you pursue that destiny. So in other words, you have the free will to choose to deny the directives and the intuitive intelligence that is being given to you, that is compelling you and guiding you to do a certain thing, and you can choose not to do it. See, your instincts is telling you to do a certain thing, but you can, in other words, kill that person because they're threatening you out of instinctive reflex and a reactive or reflective protective reaction. See, impulse. And you can choose because of your righteousness and your spiritual intelligence tells you, no, I'm not going to kill that bug, even though it's over there and it might jump up and attack me any minute. But I choose not to kill it because it has a right to exist. That's righteousness. That's spiritual righteousness, living in harmony with all the other animated beings in existence. You don't willy-nilly, impulsively, reactively kill something because you're afraid of it. See, that is the behavior of a low form or a low intelligent human form, instinctive intelligence. Human form that's functioning and identifying with their human form and identifying with their instinctive intelligence. Okay? You can choose to create something different. So if you don't like what you see with your intuitive intelligence, you can instruct and project thoughts that will begin the quantum manipulation of matter to bring into existence something to correct or overcome something that is a challenge that you have decided you do not want to tolerate. That's what the micro being, what makes the human being different from all other animated forms. Okay? That being that we are is what's different. Okay? All right, so in this way, human blueprints are different than the blueprints of everything else in the physical world. Every living, and see, in that statement, what they're saying is even the inanimate things in the physical world, viruses. The viruses is not, and they're animated, but wood, steel, chemicals, all of these chemicals and isotopes, atoms, neutrons, all these other things are animated things or inanimate. They don't have necessarily the kind of spiritual consciousness or intuitive intelligence or even instinctive, a level of intelligence on the level that we comprehend. But they do have to have some kind of level of intelligence because they're staying in their place and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And that is a level of intelligence that was set up by Amma. So everything has intelligence. Everything has intelligence, but 90% of it is intuitive. It's on autopilot. It does only what it's supposed to do. And until we are able to go down to that dimension of existence in size, we can't really know exactly how it all operates, and it's irrelevant. We need to stay where we are and master where we are on our level for the sake of structure and the sake of, just structure and social structure and mental structure. We stay where we are. That's our task. Okay? Nothing else has the choice. Oh, see, he used the word, I said it over here when I saw the word free will, and I interpreted free will to mean choice. Okay? And so Phil goes on to say, do you mean that the ant builds ant hills, but they don't build anything else? And of course, Amma says, yes. Animals and plants don't have the creative thought inside them. So they cannot deviate from their blueprint. Their blueprint is their instincts. Okay? No dog will ever choose to head into its backyard and build a doghouse out of sticks or even draw a design in the dirt with its paw. So in other words, it doesn't have the ability, in other words, it has not evolved to the level where it can even imagine a future. Because in order to draw a design, you have to have something in your thinking that makes you dream about a future or remember a past and experience a level of love that compels you to want to draw that thing. You're so compelled and so driven and so in love with this thing that you want to draw it and to have a physical, be able to see it because you saw it before and it's gone now, and you want to draw your memory of it. That takes a level of intelligence, family, that instinctive, intelligent beings don't have. They're not that deep, okay? So Phil goes on to say, I thought animals didn't make stuff like that because they don't have thumbs. No, it's intelligence. It's the compulsive intelligence. It's the intelligence that compels them, that gives them enough imagination or creative thinking that would make them want to even think about something to the point of compulsion. Okay, they don't have that. They're just very complacent. They're very what's the word? They're very happy and they're very comfortable and they're very satisfied with just what they got right then. They ain't looking, no, this good enough. I got food, I'm warm, I'm comfortable, I'm happy. My mate is happy, treats me good, she or it treats me good. I'm good. Until I get hungry or I got to go to the bathroom, I'm just going to sit here and just be good. They may have, each animated being may have a little quirkiness about them. Oh, they only will boo-boo or in this spot, or they won't do certain things in this area. And they have little idiosyncrasies and little nuances that are different and unique to each one of them, but it'd be very selective and very limited. See, the thing that differentiates the animated, all other animated beings from the human beings is the vast, creative, almost unlimited imagination that we have that comes through the evolutionary process. Every time we evolve better, smarter, brighter, more creative, and it makes us want to make our environment better. And that's an evolutionary process that is moving us all back to our infiniteness as Amma. That's really at the end of this road. But Amma has set it up so it is such a slow, gradual process that will take millions and billions of years. This way, Amma knows it will never, ever have to be stuck. ever having to go back to being omniscient and omnipresent everywhere at the same time, all the time. That will never. Amma has structured and set us up to be in a position and to be it and function as it and a representative of it, so it will never happen. It has ensured its own balance. Okay. So, and they don't make stuff like, because they don't make stuff like that because they do not have my creative thought flowing through them. That's the imagination. The creative thought is the imagination that comes from the intuitive intelligence of the micro being that is infinite. See? And we use the brain, we use the mind space of the human form that is created out of this, because of the brain of the human form. It creates a mind space, and that mind space, the intuitive intelligence, controls the thought flow of that mind space, and the instinctive intelligence controls and can put stuff into that mind space in the absence of the intuitive intelligence waking up and doing its job of projecting thoughts that are of a healthy, philosophical, spiritually righteous nature, and that are creative on a level that the instinctive intelligence of the human form can't even forget about it. It can only do, the instinctive intelligence can only put thoughts in that are about brute raw survival. That's it. Sexual and procreative nature, not a whole, it's not compassion. You know, it's going to be very brute dumb. You know, and that's because that's how it was designed to be that way. You need the spiritual intuitive intelligence of the metaphysical spiritual being that is bringing the righteousness and the goodness and the moral principles and the decency and the ability to be disciplined and structured and non-destructive, okay, and creative. So the nature of the intuitive intelligence of the spiritual being is creative and moving toward perfection. It's always driving and striving to be better, do better, know better, get smarter, and which is a part of the whole awakening process of going back to Amma, which we will never reach. In other words, perfection is a goal you reach and strive for, and to strive to get closer to, but you never get there. Amma set it up so you will never really get there, but you are compelled to strive to be better and do better, get smarter, communicate better, think better, be more efficient in the way that you create and you produce your food, and the way you conduct and maintain your environment, maintain your household. All of these things are about you getting better at doing those things. Health care, financial structures to maintain the society and have a more healthy society where you can have more birth and give birth to children in a more healthy environment because you have enough wherewithal. That's why I could never be a Confederate or a Republican. Right now they call themselves Republicans, but they're very destructive and selfish and greedy, and they're paranoid, okay? And they're trying to kill off people of color because they want to maintain this white supremacy nonsense. And so they think by cutting off the resources of and making sure that middle class and poor people never have anything, they would create a desperate situation where people would be able to join them and helping them destroy the others, as they call them. But it's all a mind game and a trick and a con, and it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. Okay. But so let's look here. What Amma says, thumbs have nothing to do with it. Okay. There are humans that don't have arms who paint with their feet. See, that's that. And their feet, or with they paint with a brush in their mouths. That's because that's that intuitive that spirit that's always moving toward expressing itself, expressing its imagination, and expressing its view and its joyful pleasure that is intuitively coming out into the world as an expression. What Amma is putting out, that it is so happy to be able to have this experience. That's why in here you're going to see Amma says it's all about having experiences. These are experiences that Amma would otherwise not have except for us. That's again to empower you, family, with the importance of your what you are as a micro being, and empower you with your abilities that are infinite. Okay. And so now you know you can't die, you have infinite power, and you are so important to Amma that it is your step-by-step, blow-by-blow, minute-by-minute experience of this physical world that is so important and so valuable. And when you understand that, your quality of life is going to explode and expand, and you will move away from the paranoia and the fear and the terror that their Bible has always trying to project. That is a waste of time, a matrix of absolute nonsense and lies. You need to be laser focused on expanding your ability to be able to create with your thoughts only that which you want in your life. And challenges are going to come because you're bumping up against a bunch of other people who are not aware and not awakened. So that's going to keep a lot of journey in the game. You ain't got to worry about that. Challenges are going to be there. White supremacy is going to be here for at least another 2,000 years. It's going to take a long time to overcome that. And that's good. That gives us something to do. It gives us something to fight against. And it gives us a backstop to keep us from just dissipating ourselves. We need that challenge of hate and murderous and psychopathic mental nonsense so that you can know what sanity is. You need to have insanity in Ron DeSantis and Trump and all of those MAGA psychopath cultists to remind you of what decency is, because you know what insanity is. Okay? So Phil goes on to ask, that's true. Monkeys have thumbs, but they don't draw anything. And that goes back to what I said about the ability of the instinctive intelligence to be able to visualize a future for itself. Instinctive intelligence don't visualize no future. The intuitive intelligence does that. Okay? And it doesn't, but the instinctive intelligence can remember a past only as a defensive mechanism. But the intuitive intelligence can remember a past in the sense of being able to learn better how to react in the future for situations that might come up similar to that. Okay, and that's similar to what animals do. And Amma goes on to say, animals can be trained to do all and see kinds of things. See, but that comes from humans creating upon them. In other words, again, that what I said many movies ago, we are so powerful and so deep in our expression and our beliefs and our abilities that we any animal that even comes around us looks up to us, and they look up to us for guidance and structure because they are only exist in the right now. But we can teach them and train them to do things that are even outside of their nature. Okay? And that's because we are Alma, we are God. We create, we have the power to create and build and do whatever we want. We have that imagination. They don't have that. That's the difference between any animated being and a spiritually proactive, projective, actualized being. And that's what we are. Okay, let's go on. And he goes into how about beavers? Does it change its environment by building a dam? Alma said it's following its blueprint, instinct, all right? A beaver will never build a wall of sticks anymore, anywhere but on a body of water, which is very true, unless a human comes along and trains it otherwise. We talked about that already. Now that you say, Phil goes on to say, now that you say that, it's obvious why don't we recognize that our thoughts are creating? Alma says, you are surrounded by human creation, okay? Both yours and others. There is so much creation all around you. That's what Alma's going to say in the next slide. Around you, that it's easy to ignore or to be overwhelmed by it. There's so much creation all around you. Every thought you have is creation. Okay, it's creation overload. So in other words, we're overloaded by our creations and the creations of all the other people around us. And that's good, okay? But once you become self-actualized and you understand what you are and who you are and where you are, where is having this human experience alongside of other humans with their spiritual beings in them. And they are creating with their imagination. And that's where we are and where we are on the evolutionary ladder of existence itself. You will become aware of that, and you learn to live in harmony with where you are in relation to other people and where you are in relation to the evolutionary process. See, as a self-actualized person and an awakened, fully aware and actual person that is living out of that awareness, you will learn to live in harmony because you understand that all these other humans are spiritual beings in human forms just like you are, fulfilling their purposes, okay? And what we want to learn to do is learn how to live in harmony with that and help them to structure their purpose and fulfill their purpose, but learn to live in harmony with everybody else who's trying to fulfill their purpose. But everybody's purpose is about fulfilling Alma's purpose, which is to be better, do better, get better, okay? And move back toward the understanding and the knowing of what we are, knowing that we are Alma, having this human experience. See, that's the awareness and the awakening that ultimately everybody is supposed to come to, okay? So Phil goes on to say, so we ignore our ability to create with our thoughts because there's too much evidence? And Alma goes on to say, all the evidence that makes it easier for you, for your persona, that's your body, that's your ego, okay? And that's what was interfering with your ability, is your persona interferes with the intuitive intelligence, okay? And your persona to ignore it, okay? All evidence makes it easier for your persona, which is your ego, your flesh, all right, to ignore your ability to create. See, ignore our ability to create with our thoughts. And that is what their Bible and the education system and this ground, keeping you identified with the human form, because the ability to create with your thoughts is a metaphysical, spiritual, intuitive intelligence ability. It's a guided, compelled, it's a fact of what you are in your makeup as a micro being, okay? But the instinctive intelligence of the physical form don't want you to become aware of that, because then it's going to lose control over the mind space. See, this is what the awakening allows you to do. And because the intuitive intelligence and the micro being is so powerful and so infinite, you're coming up against a finite thing that has very limited abilities, and it's terrified of you, okay, because of its organic fight to survive. It's terrified of the intuitive intelligence, and it's terrified of the micro being, because the micro being is immortal. It's mortal. It's finite. It cannot overcome you. So it's kind of in its natural, organic survival, fight or flight, to be afraid of the intuitive intelligence. But see, it doesn't have a choice. It has to comply with the intuitive intelligence as you, the micro being. It doesn't have a choice. It's afraid of you, but it knows that it has to comply, but it's going to fight. And that creates a challenge, and that's good. That's always good, trust me, but it's going to lose. See, now that I'm telling you this, you don't tolerate any foolishness. And I said this in my other, you don't tolerate any foolishness from this human form. You snap it into compliance, and you let it know, oh no, this is not a negotiation. You will do what I say you will do. And if you don't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to fast. I'm going to make you get nothing. And then when I allow you to do what I give you an opportunity to do what I tell you to do, you better do it. And if you don't, I'm going to shut you down again. And this is not a negotiation. This is an order. And when you get your human form to comply like that, your whole life, your whole existence is going to get super easy. And that's the position you got to take with this human form. And because these filthy things out here, oh, they're going to do everything to make sure you don't ever gain that kind of control. Because once you allow your human form to do whatever the hell it's telling it want to do, because it's complying with what everybody else is going along with. As long as you allow you have to, and again, you have to allow it. It cannot do it on its own. You have to allow it, because ultimately you're in control, because you're immortal. You ain't gonna die. You ain't going nowhere. This human form, if you allow it to trap you inside of it, it'll do it in a heartbeat. You bet not allow it, and you don't have nothing to really lose, except you're gonna lose a couple of 100 years. So, but why do that? You have to allow it. You can just gather up the thing and say, I tell you what, we ain't gonna do nothing. I'm not allowing you to do nothing. You're gonna do what I tell you to do, or we ain't gonna do nothing at all. See, that's what meditation is all about. It's about training your pet to do what you tell it to do, when you tell it to do it, how long you tell it to do it. That's what meditation, that's what Tai Chi is about. That's what martial art is about. You making this human form do what you tell it to do. And that's why a disciplined human being can train other animals. Because you already got this pet trained, so you can easily train another pet. Got to understand how it goes, folks. This is how it works. Okay? Let's go on. Okay? Humans have the unlimited ability to create. And you've programmed yourself to believe that you cannot create. You didn't program yourself that. The Bible and their Bible and their education system convinced you. See what it said? You program, you convinced yourself. See, it said program. They don't want to use the word convinced, but that's what you did. You conned yourself. And look what it says here. And here's the pivotal word, family. Con yourself to believe. And that's why I named my book The Power of Belief. Once you con yourself into believing, what is yourself? Your human form. Or the micro being, the intuitive intelligence, you know what, your spiritual and micro being have sat back and said, okay, I'll go along with it. But you have to allow it. You have to go along with it. And you got to stop that. You got to stop that. Okay? So belief is the operative word here. All right? You tricked yourself or conned yourself into believing that you cannot create because you have listened to the pastors. You've listened to the filthy teachers that you might have had and told you ain't nothing and you're never going to be nothing. And you believed it. So you got to stop that. Don't believe it. All right? Okay. Okay, to believe you cannot create. Animals do not have the freedom to create. In other words, the free will to create because they don't have the imagination. They don't dream of a future. See, you have to dream of a future in order to create a future. But if you don't dream, you're not going to have projective thoughts that are going to conjure up and create in a mental world something that has not manifested yet. See, it has to be a thought first and an image first and put feelings and emotions with it repeatedly to say, oh yeah, I see myself already having that. Animals don't do that. Animated dogs, and they don't do none of that. That's why when you give them something, they say, oh wow, hey, they didn't see it coming. They did not see it coming. They have no imagination at all. Okay? All right, so humans have the unlimited ability to create, and we went through that. Animals do not have the freedom to create. They only can do as they were created to do. Okay, and that is to multiply and thrive. Bare bone, basic survival skills. Okay? That's all they can do. All right? Humans can create with our imagination. And because of your persona, you've created all this stuff that you do not want. So that's the interference of the instinctive intelligence of the brute form. And this is because of their Bible and their education system, which has been put in place to restrict the forward motion, to slow down your evolutionary process to the ultimate achievement of perfection. Okay, so these challenges are going to be put into place, but nothing can really stop you. You have to allow it. And Elon Musk and everything he's done because he has overcome millions of challenges that with the help of other engineers who are all focused toward accomplishing and achieving a particular goal of creating an electric vehicle and battery backup systems, solar panel, microgrid systems, robots that are they're planning ahead of time, imagining a time in the future where They want to have so much labor. There's things they want to accomplish that the human body cannot do because it gets tired and it runs out of energy. So they have to create a robot that never gets tired, never has to go on vacation, and they don't have to pay the damn thing. See? So the human form can only create what the micro being and the intuitive intelligence wants to create. The human form is so limited that Amma allowed us to have the ability to go beyond the human form and create something like what Amma did, created the human form to take us so far. Now the human form, the intuitive intelligence of the micro being now is going to go beyond the human form and create something that's similar to the human form, but doesn't have the limitations of the human form. So again, we can create. See, you've created, you can even create what you don't want. You can create situations of stuff that you do not want. And that challenge was built in to our DNA as micro beings. Okay, that when we interface with that human form, that's what causes us to create things as a part of the process of growth. In order for you to get it right, you have to, we just, by the organic nature of evolution through the process of human thinking and human creation and inventiveness, as we invent things, we have to get it wrong a whole bunch of times before we learn how to get it right. And that's what Tom Edison said. He said, I've learned how to make a light bulb. I've learned how to make a light bulb the wrong way 1,000 times before I learned how to get it right one time. And once I got it right, I moved on to the next thing to work on how to get that right. And that's what Elon Musk has done with the electric vehicle. They didn't make it. They went down the first principle and started making a vehicle from the ground up in a totally new, different way. And he's getting better at that, which is the evolutionary process. You get better. See? And that's what I'm trying to get our young people to start focusing on, getting better at dealing with this white supremacy system so we can get back on and become evolved Africans. We don't want to be the same Africans. No, we want to be better Africans. Okay. And so now we can get back on and get back into the evolutionary process. And so we can now go to the next level. We're ready to go to the next level, Africans. Okay. And these Europeans, these Eurasians, and their left-sided brain, they can only go but so far because they're left-sided brain. And we can only go so far because we're right-sided brain. So, but because we are the originals, we can take what they have done and we can add it to what we've already done, and we're creating all the sciences and everything. And now we can take both human forms to the next level, because it's all about human forms, period. Race really doesn't matter, it doesn't exist. Okay? So the thought Phil goes on to, is I am creating, or is it the thought that's creating? And Amma says, no, the thought creates, but all thoughts is I am. In other words, all thoughts have to go to I am, so that I am now, which I call the subconscious machine, will use dark energy to manipulate dark matter, which will bring into existence all physical forms and circumstances. Okay? So if thought is coming through the filter of your persona, I am does not consider this its thought. So in other words, if any thought that just flaps around haphazardly, I am doesn't consider it. It has to be a repeated thought. It has to be backed up by emotions and feelings. But the most important thing, it's got to be crystal clear, and it's got to be repeated. See, it's got to repeat. Otherwise, look what Amma says, and this corresponds to what I said. All thoughts, just any old thought, no. If the thought is coming through the filter of your persona, in other words, it's an instinctive, reflective, reactive thoughts. You have a lot of reactive thoughts, but the one thing about reactive thoughts, family, is like I said 15 movies ago, reactive thoughts don't repeat. They come totally different. The next time they come, it'll be reacting to some other stupid, silly stuff that happened in the environment. And they don't repeat. So Alma said, they're not real. They're not real thoughts. They're not creative. And that's what this means here. If the thought comes through the filter of the proton, I am, does not consider this its thought. It's not a thought that's coming from the creative, from the micro being, okay, of the intuitive intelligence. That is real because it's a thought coming from an infinite entity, like Alma is an infinite entity. Okay, I am considers this the thought of its creation. Okay, what it says, I am does not consider this its thought. I am considered this the thought of its creation, which is the human form. Okay, Phil, do you create what we think? Are thoughts creations, or are you thoughts? What is the difference here? There is no difference between thought and Alma, because everything is Alma, or Alma is everything. Okay, so Alma says we are all one. Okay, thoughts create, yes, you are me. So if you create and you project a thought repeatedly, that's the one thing this thing doesn't say. You have to repeat, because the you says you are me. The you that Alma's talking about is the micro being, not the human form, not the instinctive intelligence. He ain't talking about that because, again, Alma says the human form is not real. It's been created by us or it, but it's not real because it's finite. That's what makes it not real. Not who created, but the fact that it does not last forever. It's not immortal. So to Alma, it's not real. It's temporary. That's the defining difference between what Alma sees as real and what Alma sees as not real. So in other words, if a reactive thought comes from the instinctive intelligence of the human form, Alma says it's not a real thought. But if you project a thought from your imagination of what you see yourself having, that is a pure creative thought from your imagination, Alma sees that as real. And then if you repeat it, Alma gets to work and puts the subconscious machine into action and begins to create, okay, that whatever thought you have projected, okay. And you're gonna see that here. I haven't even read it yet, but I'm pretty sure, I'm almost guarantee I'm almost gonna say this. We are all one. Thoughts create. You are me. So I create what you think. Who is you? The micro being. See, you is always the micro being. See, what you think. All thoughts are me because I am universal mind in the spirit. I am the universal mind in the spiritual world. So all thoughts are me, even the thoughts that come from the instinctive intelligence, the intuitive intelligence, and of the human form. But they're all Alma because they're all under Alma. So everything that is Alma, everything that is Alma. But what level, where is it on the hierarchy of importance of real and not real? So you could be Alma, but you still don't have to be real. To Alma, relative to Alma, you're not real. If you're not infinite, you're not real to Alma. Simple as that. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so here, all thoughts are me because I am universal mind, the universal mind in the spiritual metaphysical world. You are the entire creative, it says you are the entire creative power of the universe. You are the micro being. See, because you're infinite. We are infinite. That's why when the human form goes to sleep and it needs rest, we, the micro being, continues that individual awareness and consciousness goes on to watch and view other things that are happening within the metaphysical world. All of the things that have happened in the past are in the universal mind. So as a micro being, infinite, don't die, can't sleep, don't get tired, we just continue to be aware and witness and watch from our unique individual perspective as a micro being. You got to understand that that's what we are. That's why we're always watching. And we never will stop because we are infinite. Alma is infinite. And Alma never stops. And micro being that is a representative of Alma never stops. You can't. So that's why you can never die, because you can never stop. You will never stop. You got to understand this, family. And that's why you can't sleep. Your body sleeps. You don't even know nothing about sleep. Sleep is not relevant to micro being. Again, finite things are relevant to finite things. Things that only last a short period of time. The form well is temporary. That's why Alma says it's not real. See? But the infinite things, the immortal things, that consciousness, that a singular awareness, and that ability to view things from this perspective is unique and infinite. Okay? I've got 2 more slides to go through, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this movie because it's really been long, family. And they're going to go into some deeper things here. You know, when you, and it says, well, I'll say this much. When you understand this, that you are the entire creative power of the universe as a micro being, and that's why your thoughts create. Okay? When you understand this or have complete knowing, as he said in the past, and it has said in the past, you will feel power and energy coursing through your body, not the physical body, your spiritual body, your micro being body. Okay? That's what it's going to say. And when you don't know, you are still I am. Even if you don't know, you are still I am, but I am is on autopilot. Okay? I am is still creating, but I am does not consider your doubts, your persona to be an I am created. Your persona to be I am creating. Weird. I don't even understand that myself. It says I am is still creating, but I am does not consider your doubts, your persona to be I am creating. In other words, your persona is not creating, and I am doesn't consider anything that your persona is creating. Okay? Your persona is blocking I am from consciously creating. Okay? So it's going to go on and say, I am, you know, is our persona, our limitation, our doubts, and our fears. The limitations we place on God, which is who we truly are. So I am God. And of course, the answer is yes. You do not believe you are God because you believe you are an individual. No, you don't believe you're God because you believe you're an individual. That's not why you believe you're not God. You believe you're not God because of their damn Bible. You believe you're not God because of their education system. That's why you believe you're not God. It got nothing to do with you this is where I totally disagree with this statement right here, that because you are an individual. Oh, no. As a micro being, you're an individual. Okay, but the word individual says you're not divided from the macro. Individual, look the word up. The word I-N, and I went through this in my other movies, dictate that you are not separate from the macro. That's what the word individual means, okay? But that's not why. The fact that you're an individual it has nothing to do with why you do not believe you are God or Amma. That has the fact that it's because of your education and your training in the damn Bible, which doesn't teach you anything. And the education doesn't teach you what I have just taught you in this whole movie. But I'm going to end it here, family, because we're getting really long in the tooth. Okay, and I hope I've given you quite a bit, a whole lot more meat on the bone. And I'm thankful for Erin Werley and this book, One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create, because this book has stimulated so much conversation and so much debate and so much learning and awareness. And even when they make mistakes, because then it gives me an opportunity to clarify and give you more wisdom and knowledge to keep you on the path of righteousness and empower you to realize your immortality and your power and your infiniteness and your potency as a walking micro being, or micro Amma, or micro God. One love, family, and I'll see you in the next video.